Good evening, everyone. Hi, this is Joe Franco, Chair of the District 2 SAC for Stakeholder Advisory Committee for Anne Arundel County. Really glad to have everybody tonight. We have an action-packed agenda, and I'm glad to see that we have so many of our board members here tonight, which is great. So tonight, we're really going to kind of focus on a lot of the economic drivers in our area and some of our larger employers, which is great, and economic centers. And I think this can be a really great discussion, kind of building upon how we make sure that District 2 has adequate educational and employment and workforce opportunities for those that want to live here, but also for places for people to recreate and have fun. I think those are two big pieces of what we want in this area. So with that, just some housekeeping items. All of the SAC members received the agenda before this meeting, so just want to make sure that we can approve that agenda. So can I have a motion to approve from someone? I see Nicole merrily seconded. Great. All right. Well, if no objections, we'll do that. And then also thanks to Carrie and Mark and Arundel County staff for preparing great meeting notes. I did review them. I didn't see any issues, but does anybody have any corrections or edits to last month's meeting notes? No? Okay, great. So can I have a motion again to approve those? I see Kevin, thank you, and Marilee will second. Okay, great. And since we don't have any changes, we'll let those be approved. So once again, just to kind of just remind everyone that, you know, our intent for this meeting tonight is to really talk about regional commercial centers and the opportunities to enhance the area. But then also, more importantly, what are some lessons learned from the way that we've developed some of these larger regional commercial centers, and how can that be applied to places where maybe we want to see some economic development? And I think that that's important, so we can think about that. There's definitely going to be an opportunity to ask questions and make recommendations on what we've seen, as well as the driving tour, feedback map, and other pieces. And then, of course, we appreciate the public input pieces and those from the public, but we are going to wait for those at the end because we have 3 important presentations today that we want to get through. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and start to our first presenter. I know we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Did we get Jean back on, Carrie? Sorry, I was chatting. I didn't see if sounded like he was having.
So Mark and Jean are on the phone trying to sort out the technical issue. So maybe we could just give them a minute.
Yeah, no problem. Well, that's actually good because one thing I wanted to highlight, 2 things that we did in the interim period for the SAC is that the county executive reached out to Keisha and I in regards to something about the environment that we really kind of wanted to examine and kind of highlight for the county executive and county staff. So we actually went back and did another walking tour of the Oxbow Nature Preserve. We had 2 wonderful volunteers, Marcy Stutzman and Jay Shepard, who took us on a lovely, if not actually a little more difficult hike than I thought it would be. And we really got to see kind of in depth and intimately the beauty of the Oxbow Nature Preserve. And by walking the trails, we got to see that there's a lot of room for improvement of ways that we can make the trails much safer. There was a lot of roots exposed, and some of the areas are pretty treacherous. You would definitely, it would be beneficial if we did some trail work there. And then we talked a lot about the water mitigation strategies there, because the beavers there kind of help keep the water levels high, and when those fail, the water levels go really low. So we were talking to the county executive and recreation and park staff about how we can help with those strategies. And then lastly, kind of a nice footnote to it was actually really great. There was actually a bald eagle out in the nature preserve hunting. So we actually got to kind of just watch the bald eagle, just out there doing its thing. So that was really cool. And then we also talked about the platform and kind of reviewed that. We did have the president of the Russet Community Association, Mark Lowe, joined us and talked about, the Russet piece of that, as well as kind of rehash some of the ideas that we had, put money into talking about a platform. And that's probably definitely still down the road. But I think there's some short-term strategies we can use for Oxbow, but then also long-term. So, definitely the work we did at the driving tour paid off because we were able to revisit one of our areas again and really, I think, have some action steps for how we can improve that. And then, of course, we did, there was a Region 2 stakeholder meeting at the Maryland City Fire House last week, or last week or the week before. And, that was really helpful too. I really appreciated the SAC members that attended that because it was a great way to hear from the public about what they were concerned about. The meeting did focus on public safety, the environment, and I'm forgetting one other. But I think that was the benefit. I thought in my discussions with Keisha and others afterwards, I thought one of the benefits of it was we didn't hear anything new from the crowd. So that was really great. So there was nothing that we were surprised about that people said, oh, you should be worried or thinking about this. All the members who attended from the public were saying the same exact things about traffic, safety, the hotels on 198, flooding on Brockbridge Road. All the things we've been talking about was reiterated by the members of the public that attended. So not only was it beneficial for the county executive and county staff to hear that again, but once again, I think it reiterated that we are definitely on the right track as the SAC, because the issues we were bringing up are the same issues that unprompted citizens were bringing up. So that was really, really great. And I'm really grateful that we were able to have the opportunity with county staff to have that public meeting besides the SAC. So Jean, I see that you're back. So maybe if you come off mute, we can see if we can have your presentation. Jean? Hopefully, Jean. I know Jean was having a hard time.
So let's give him 10 seconds. And if it doesn't work out, Rob, would you be able to go first? What Mark is texting to me on the side here.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and we'll flip the script, which is totally fine.
Thank you.
I'm really honored to welcome Rob Norton, president of Maryland Live Casino. Rob has been a great community leader, and I know helps with the casinos, not only growth and the way that they've been able to change their model, but also has been involved in a way that the casino gives back through the local development impact fee funds and those pieces. So would like to turn it over to Rob to give us an overview of Maryland Live and kind of where it's going and how it's a regional kind of retail center for our community. So Rob, welcome. I think you're personally on mute, so I need to take your.
How about now? Can everybody hear me okay?
Now I can hear you, Rob. Great, perfect. Thank you so much.
It's a double mute system, Gene. You have to unmute the phone and unmute the screen. So can you see my screen okay now? Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Great. All right. So quickly, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to address this group and talk a little bit about live casino and hotel here in Maryland. I'm not exactly sure what your timing is, Joe, as far as how long you want me to present and leave for question and answers, but I can adjust as needed. I saw the types of questions you put out and created a little presentation for you guys based upon the questions that were sent to us. I wanted to start with, just a really quick high level look back of what live is and who we are and kind of our history here. And at our heart, live is an entertainment destination. Whether we're talking about our live here at the casino or live, which has now grown into a national brand, what we do is create experiences that are that differentiate us from our competitors, whether that's restaurants, casino, entertainment complexes, what have you. And it really is, kind of the brand difference and the power of the Live brand, as it says here. It's in our point, which is a pun. It's in our exclamation point. As we look through the history of our casino here in Maryland, if you kind of walk through, I think one of the things that we do and we have done very well is that we've never stopped redeveloping ourselves. And if you look over the last decade, which we just celebrated our 10th birthday not too long ago, we have constantly been in redevelopment mode from when we opened in June 2012 all the way through to our most recent addition, which is when we added the sports book, just this last year. And quite candidly, we have more things in development, more construction planned. And I think it's one of the reasons why we've been successful in becoming and maintaining, one of the most successful casinos in the country right here in Anne Arundel County. I won't walk through everything, but as you guys look through that list, if there's something specific that you'd like to to dive deeper into, I'm happy to do so. But if you look just in big picture about this redevelopment, we've put more than double what we originally developed this facility with. We've put back into the facility. So if you look at our total investment, it's more than doubled since we opened over the last decade. We have for 7 years now been identified as the #1 tourist destination in the greater Baltimore area. That's right here in Anne Arundel County. And when we partner with the mall, with Arundel Mills in this exercise, it's not even close. And one of the things that we do is we create kind of massive events. We create, the casino itself is 160,000 square feet of slots and table games. When you consider all our restaurants and other entertainment venues, we're closing in on 500,000 square feet of entertainment space, excluding the hotel. And it just, it's becoming really a world-class destination resort right here at BWI. And what we do is we continue to drive these bodies, again, millions and millions of visitors. And while we have struggled through the pandemic for sure, we have started to see recovery, and we'll cover that in just a little bit. But we've started to add back these big major events across our facility. And I'll show you some photos as we go through, but from the graduations where we saw, I think we had 11 schools do the graduation on average attendance of somewhere around 3,000 people over a 5-day window. We ended up with, call it 30,000 people that walked through our door to, incredible concerts like Dave Chappelle, where we, over 4 shows brought in nearly 20,000 people. We continue to kind of push the envelope to drive as many bodies and activity and energy that we can drive through the door, which will ultimately translate for the whole community in higher taxes, higher revenues, and more jobs, so on and so forth. This is just an illustration to kind of show, even when we had our competition open up back in 14 and 15, we only saw small dips in our visitation here at Maryland. It wasn't until we got to COVID where we really saw the impact of visitation driven through the pandemic. And we do anticipate that by next year we'll be back to very comparable levels to where we have been historically. I think one of the things that would surprise people, and I'm going to show you a little bit about where our customers come from. It's obvious, I think, if you look at the left map, there's a lot of noise here. The left map is really a zoomed in image of our general area, and you can kind of see the darker red, the more the density of folks that come from that zip code. You can see where our customers are coming from, which is all over the region. But if you look over to the right map, it really shows that our pull from the casino is probably much larger than what most people would think, as we really are a Northeast destination for most of our customers. And if you zoom out just a little bit further, this is the last 12 months where we are pulling our customers from. So we see visitation from all 50 states. I'm not showing you the international stuff here, but there's also international visitation. But you can see that we definitely have a concentration in the Northeast as our regional approach. But the destination is significant enough that we are drawing customers from all over. Sorry, did I have a question? Okay, moving on. And what that translates, in the way of taxes is, we are, back to the point where we are, closing in on $1 million a day on average. We took a little bit of dip when MGM came in from a revenue standpoint. But you can see over the last 10 years, we're nearly at $2 billion of taxes paid just from this facility to the state funds, and this is kind of the trend of what that looks like. Now we start talking a little bit about live and what we mean to the community, and I want to transition to that by talking a little bit about our outreach programs and our minority spend and other things we do here. But we've been on record and very proud of the fact that we are the only casino in the country to have been built by a minority contractor. But with that commitment has continued, and through the years, we've averaged between 15 and 20% of our ongoing spend every year through minority and local spends. And unfortunately, we took a dip that we weren't satisfied with through the pandemic, but we are seeing recovery to that and anticipate being back in the range that we would normally be in towards the end of this year and into next year. Let's talk a little bit about our community efforts and community relations. We'll talk about employment, and then we'll talk about where things are heading. I think Joe said it early on that we have started our company and our efforts here when we first joined Anne Arundel County as with a mission that we were going to be an accretive member of the community, that we were going to take our responsibility as being a leader within the community very seriously. We're going to put our money and our people, to the test and make sure that we are there living it every day. And I hope that for those of you, I know you can share your thoughts about our success or lack thereof. For those of you who don't, hopefully you've heard the reputation and that reputation precedes us in this topic. We have, we just celebrated 10th birthday. This is actually our birthday celebration. And with that, we actually started the first graduations. We talked about it a little bit earlier. These were incredible experiences for our teachers and students and even the families. It was the first time we did it. And for those of you who've ever, put on events for 40,000 people before, it's not, it goes very smooth, but I think we were extremely pleased. And with the comments that we got back from the school system and the participants was extraordinarily positive. And, we're excited about continuing this and continuing forward. But that's just one small piece of what we do. This year, as an example, when we celebrated our 10th anniversary, we did a commitment to help 10,000 people within our local community in a 24-hour period. And so the next series of photos are just some examples of the different communities that we went out and helped. We did everything from cleaning up an old pool, public pool system to get rid of the dangerous fences and other things so that the kids could use the area as a park. We did line dancing and fun activities at senior houses and so on and so forth. But that was a special day. But year in and year out, you'll find us at the food banks, both the state food banks and the local food banks, giving out turkeys for Thanksgiving, meals at Christmas, and constant donations. We're also out there, working with our charity partners. We sit on probably 20 different boards at this point of local community organizations around Anne Arundel County, and serve hundreds of beneficial families through all the different organizations that we have. And that's the stuff that we're doing through our philanthropic endeavors. So we're proud to be again named in the top 3 philanthropic companies within the state, and we've just been named locally as the top philanthropic company. And again, we're very proud of that. And when you think about all of those efforts, and then you add on the LDC Community Advisory Committee. So this is the group that actually oversees the 5.5%, or roughly $20 million a year that comes out of the local or the slot fees that goes to the local community. We are able to do even more good. And when you look through, and this is the list of just the 2021 grants from the LDC that went throughout the community. And what's great about these is, and I'm not highlighting, by the way, the large grants that went to the community college and to the police and to the fire departments, but I'm highlighting all the smaller groups here that are getting help to create real change within the community through this LDC process. And then before I head off onto talk about our team and where we're heading, I think it's worth highlighting just really briefly the partnership that we created with Anne Arundel County around the COVID pandemic. Hopefully, some of the things that we did were recognized, and you heard about them. The fact that we opened up the clinic for vaccines inside our event center. We purchased and procured PPE that was made available to the county and other businesses through the process. We became a distribution center for the test kits. And just recently, the county actually asked me to co-present at MACO with them on what the partnerships between public and private entities around things like this could and should look like. And we were very proud to go with them and share a little bit of our story of how we came up with the partnership. I won't bore you with all the details of it, but it really was a good partnership, and I think we made a difference. And ultimately, we were proud of how we were able to operate, and I know the county was proud of the partnership that we created as well. These are again some of these are some of our biggest partners out there that we participate with every year in the community. So let's talk a little bit about employment. We have, over our period of time, we've had as many as 3,000 employees. We're just short of 2,000 employees now. We're still struggling to recover from COVID. We've had to adjust some of our business model from that. This is a map similar to what we showed with the customers. This is a map of where our team members are coming from. And you can see, we get a lot from obviously Anne Arundel County, the Glen Burnie and Pasadena area, but we also get a lot all the way up through Baltimore and the surrounding areas, which makes it interesting challenge for our employees, particularly those that don't have private transportation. If you're coming from the city of Baltimore and you're coming to work, it's not uncommon for our employees to spend 2 hours each direction coming to and from work, which is very, very, it's a quality of life issue. It's hard to do that. And so we've been partnered with the BWI partnership to to create some shuttle services, but we've also taken things into our own hand, and we've actually partnered with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and we have multiple vans now that we rent and provide to a team member who agrees to pick up other employees from their area and bring them to and from work. So you'll see this van out there. This is a team member. The benefit, they get to keep the car on their days off, but for the most part, they're helping us solve a transportation problem in a creative way. We do a ton around diversity for our organization. To us, this is it's not just a social trend. This is a way of life. This is how we think and operate. Over 60% of our team members come from a diverse background, and that percentage is growing into our management role now. As we've been around for 10 years, we've seen the growth up through the organization vertically for those growth opportunities has continued. And one of the things that again, culturally, we believe in and have part of our mission and culture statements is that we are going to be an organization that celebrates diversity of thought. And you really can't have a diversity of thought without having a truly diverse workforce. And for us, if you looked at our map of where our team members' origins are from, which is great, we have team members from dozens and dozens of different countries, not just different states or racial or religious backgrounds. We also have many countries represented as well. We did some fun stuff for the 10th anniversary. I'd love to share with you just a brief video. Hopefully the sound works. We had 100 of our team members that we took over to Costco, the drop experience. If you've ever seen that game show, 15 minutes to buy whatever you can fit into your cart. And it was a heck of a lot of fun. Is that sound working? No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I don't know how to fix that. So let me do this then, and just scroll through so you can see some of the great images of this. This is where they're just about to launch to go shopping. This was about $500,000 that we spent, and some of the great stories that came from this. We had one team member, who they had to be selected through a lottery process to be one of the 100, and we had one team member who went in, and 100% of their basket was selected for one of the local charities that they work for. I believe it was a homeless shelter, and they took their opportunity to do something like this, and they donated back 100% of what they got. You can see some of these baskets are. I'm surprised they were able to balance them all, honestly. So where are things heading for us in the future? So, the casino industry, we have the good thing is for us is that it's a relatively protected business, but there is encroachment happening, and there is threats to our business as we see coming forward. And I'm going to talk to you about a little bit of those opportunities and challenges now. So to the north of us, we see Pennsylvania has always a number of bills for expansion. They are one of the few states that have online sports betting, online gaming. They recently introduced Category 4 casinos. These are referred to as, quote unquote, mini casinos. And there will be, 4 or 5 of these that will be opened up, and many of them are being placed right along the Maryland border. York, Shippensburg, State College. These are all kind of pull away from the Maryland opportunities, particularly in those immediate regions. And then a little further north, and some would say is not as big a concern, but we do get a lot of business from New York, and soon there will be 3 massive casinos that'll be awarded in New York, and that'll have another impact on New Jersey casinos, Maryland casinos, Pennsylvania casinos will all feel the impact of New York coming online. A little to our south, and flies under the radar a little bit, there is something called HHRs, historical racing machines. This company, Churchill Downs, now owns, that is, they run these places where they've kind of repurposed Kmart's and different box stores around Virginia. There's thousands and thousands of machines now. They look just like slot machines, as you see in the bottom left-hand corner of this image, and they are slowly chipping away at our revenues coming from our south through these HHRs, and so much so that this is actually scheduled to open January of 2023. So not too far from now. This is just south of DC, and it's a major casino resort that's being built under an HHR law that will have no doubt impact on the business coming out of our south. You can see the type of scale of development that they're planning, for these, historical racing machines. You won't be able to tell the difference between this and a casino. Again, this will definitely have an impact. And then you add on top of that Virginia has added 5 casinos to its legislation, and so 4 of the 5 have been awarded and are in different stages of construction. One of them's open, and the other couple are already in development at different stages. So as we look, for us as an example, we probably get 6-7% of our revenue from Richmond south in Virginia. So there, again, for us, it's going to be an impact, but for MGM, it'll probably be even a larger impact, as an example. And then we start looking at kind of, if you look at the whole country right now, there's almost no states at this point that don't have casino gaming. What is that, 5 that don't have some sort of casino gaming? And of that list, probably only Utah won't have it in the next couple of years. So it's a trend that's going to continue to grow. Now, the most recent push, and what's catching a lot of news, is this move towards sports betting. And as you can see right now, this is a good map identifying kind of where it's legal, sports betting, where it's under consideration right now, and where it's kind of dead. So if it's fully gray, it's dead for now. But it's well over half of the country has already implemented sports betting, and another, half a dozen states are near implementation of sports betting, and that'll continue to grow. And then when you consider that the very next leg of this is going to be where it heads from on an internet basis, like most other types of industries, we're starting to move to internet. Well, sports betting's way ahead of the curve. I mean, nearly half of the states out there are currently offering mobile sports betting. Maryland is in the process of authorizing its mobile laws right now, and some will tell you that they think it'll be done before the end of this football season. We'll see. And so this is something else that will no doubt have an impact on our business. as we go forward. And then you have iGaming, and currently only 6 states have launched iGaming across the country. Delaware, even though it's really close to us, doesn't really impact us much. And at this point, the only ones nearby for us are New Jersey and Pennsylvania that are operating in a way that's going to impact us. So 3 of our surrounding states have mobile casinos, if you will, and it's eventually going to make its way here. The problem with this, just like in retail, the introduction of online hurts the bricks and mortar facilities. And I'm not sure if you guys realize that the bricks and mortar facilities in Maryland pay one of the highest tax rates in the country. It's the reason why that we've paid nearly $2 billion since we've been open. And in each state that we have seen mobile betting come online, there has been a decline associated with the mobile betting introduction to the bricks and mortar, which unfortunately has ramifications to jobs and other things. So it's definitely something we're watching, and it's an unfortunate reality that we will have to deal with at some point in the future.
So Rob, do you mind if maybe we could start transitioning a little bit to questions just for time reasons?
Yep. That was it. That was the 2 slides left. So
perfect.
There you go.
And I'll kind of kick it off because I know I think we kind of wanted to focus a little bit on the workforce pieces. So can you talk a little bit about workforce development, and do you guys have partnerships with Anne Arundel Community College, and what are some pieces there? And it sounds like you guys went from 3,000 down to 2,000 staff, rightfully so with the pandemic, but what do you see as workforce development and growth in the next few years with Arundel Mills?
Yeah, so Arundel Mills Anne Arundel Community College has been a great partner for us, as well as Arundel, the Workforce Development Group. We just committed to $10 million of scholarships with the community college over the next 10 years to ensure that we keep the pipeline of hospitality-driven jobs available for us. There's no larger concern that we have in our organization right now above staffing and the difficulty of staffing appropriately in this market. We should be at 2,800 employees right now. That's how short we are. And so, we are having to make decisions that are not things that we'd like to do, such as close restaurants on certain days or shut down certain services on different times, not opening back up our spa. These are things that we, ultimately don't want to be in this position, but we've had to manage these things in a way so that we can still provide the types of service when we are open that our customers expect. So workforce development is the number one issue.
Great. So I'll open it up to other SAC members. If you could just use the hand raise function on Zoom, or raise your hand, and I'll just try to look for you. But yeah, Kevin, looks like you have a question for Rob.
Yeah, just a quick side question. You mentioned you have an event center. I guess that's your conference center. Is that what that is? So
we actually.
Yeah, how big is it, and what kind of conferences do you have there?
Yeah, so we have actually 2 spaces that are built in a way that they can be combined. So when we do it in theater style, we combine the 2 spaces in theater style, we can seat about 4,500 people inside the venue. It's about 70,000 square feet all in, when you consider the inside space and all the pre-function spaces and other functional spaces that go along with it. And we host all kinds of different types of events, from group organizations to, we've done some trade shows. We do a lot of concerts and entertainment in that space. We do job fairs, and it's all over the board.
Okay, so it's flexible for both like job fairs as well as presentations and
Absolutely.
type things. Interesting. Okay. All right. Thank you.
And it's also for those of you who are with the county, we, as part of our agreement with the county, we provide use of that space free of charge to county organizations and nonprofits based out of Anne Arundel County. So if you are representing any of those groups, you can give us a call and we will hook you up with a space.
Great. Any other questions? I have one. Oh, Nicole. Yep, Nicole, go ahead.
So those of us that live over here in Jessup, it's not so fun when you just want to run to the bank or the grocery for something really quick and you're holding a concert and you forget and you're stuck, or when the graduations were happening, bam, 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 twice a day in June. It was really not fun for the traffic, and you forgot that it was graduation day, or your husband is the bomb dog and had to sweep that venue twice a day for all the graduations and what have you. Or when the county executive was going twice a day for the graduations or the political events and had to be over there for all of those and what have you. So for me, who lives about 60 seconds from that venue, I forget when all the events are coming unless my husband has to sweep it for the bombs. It's not so fun. While I do appreciate the economic impact it does, and I love that we finally got a venue built for the high schools to have a graduation here and not have to keep spending money outside of the county for our children to graduate somewhere. For those of us that live over here, it does present a traffic challenge every now and again outside of the usual Christmas traffic that we have to deal with in the mall. But I do appreciate all the economic impact as somebody who's a member of the JIA and the great stuff that the LDC has provided to the communities and what have you. I wasn't aware of all the other stuff that you do, so it was really helpful to see. And I did come over there and get my COVID vaccine twice. And so the way you guys had that set up was fantastic. As a nurse, I appreciated it because we were one of the first few that got to come in there within the first 5 days of you having that open. And you guys did a tremendous job with the county to get that done. And the way you set that up very quickly and in rapid fashion, it was impressive. So I'm glad that you guys did present that to other people. And I wish the county nurses would write that up from a nursing standpoint and present that somewhere because it was impressive. But just as a side note, for some of us that live over here, it's not always fun. If you could send out, your PR people could send out to us, hey, this and this and this is coming, so we would avoid it. It would be nice.
Well, I definitely appreciate the feedback. I mean, our goal is never to create, a traffic situation, and we pride ourselves on working that. It's the first I've actually heard that we had any traffic issues around the graduations. We monitored that very closely. So I'll definitely follow up with our security team and see what we could do differently there. All the feedback I had received, that's the first I've heard of any traffic concerns around that. So I appreciate you sharing it with us.
Maybe just one graduation a day would be, but I understand why the school system wanted to do twice a day, but one a day would be just fine for those of us that live over here.
Well, we're at the end of the day, Nicole, we're the service provider there. So we'll work harder to make sure that it runs even smoother. But the county was the customer and they wanted to run through them, and so we provided the support to do that.
I made the mistake of trying to run and get gas at Costco at lunch, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I was like, I totally forgot and couldn't even turn around to get out.
Yeah. So if you were in our surface lots, then no doubt at noon you were at the in and the out. But that shouldn't have translated out onto the surface roads. So.
No, I was on Arundel Mills Boulevard from Dorchester trying to get there. And I was like, what is going on? And then I called my husband and he said, I'm here sweeping. There's 2 graduations today. And I said, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. So yeah.
Well, great. Well, Rob, we really appreciate this. Was a very comprehensive presentation. And I think it's going to go really, really well with our next piece. So hopefully now we can turn it over to Jean Condon, who's the general manager with Simon Property Group and with Arundel Mills Mall. And I believe it's just going to be audio, which is, oh, there we go. Like we can at least see you, Jean. So hopefully now we can get you off mute and we can have you present. So Jean, and we have you for about 25 minutes, Jean. So you're still on mute, so you need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Okay, great. Thank you, Jean.
Terrific. Well, I was hoping not having to follow Rob's presentation, because Rob always does a very thorough job and has a lot of visuals to share with the group. As I'm on my iPad, I'm not going to have anything to share with the group, but I'll be able to kind of talk through, and thought it would be helpful to talk through a brief history of the shopping center and how it's been expanded over the years. And then we can talk a little bit briefly about what's next. So if for those of you who were not here in 1999, this used to be home to the Beagle Hunting Ground, and Arundel Mills was part of a 1,200 acre accumulation of land. The mall itself was responsible for about 450 of those acres, while our partner, Somerset Construction, was the master developer on the balance, which included the Arundel Preserve, where it sounds like someone who was just speaking might live today. So Arundel Preserve ultimately became home to over 1,200 residential units, including apartments. Close to 1 million square feet of office, I think, is now out of the ground, with some additional office opportunities in the future, and then some hotels and some limited retail. So it's been a great master development partner with Arundel Mills, which obviously folks know about the mall. You just heard about our largest tenant, Live Casino, that was added in 2012, as was mentioned. But the mall also includes those peripheral developments that exist along Arundel Mills Boulevard. The 450 acres included about 145 acres, which is where the Safeway complex is, Michael's, Aldi, PetSmart, Costco, Walmart, the Arundel corporate centers, the various hotels around the area, and then the apartment complex is on the opposite side of 100, abutting Arundel Mills Boulevard and Dorsey Road. So that's the entire complex. It includes Arundel Mills and Arundel Preserve. The center opened in 2000, and then we've gone through a few expansions since then, adding H&M and Medieval Times in 2003. And then we added Best Buy in 2006. The casino joined us in 2012. And then we've had some minor expansions since. They're not expansions, but tenant replacements. Nautica, Sun and Ski, Maryland Furniture, and Lucky Brands opened just this year, with Doctors, Showcase, Lavisa, Pro Image, and Kids Quest, which will be a unique opportunity for us. They will be the first store inside Arundel Mills that only has an exterior entrance. They'll be located right behind Ulta, between Ulta and Dave & Buster's. So we are, fortunate that the center has been far more successful this post-COVID challenging retail environment, because the center included a lot of entertainment opportunities, the hotels that I mentioned, not to mention, some strong retail and outlet style retail tenants to offer value to those in a larger radius. Similar to what Rob described about where the customers are coming from, we follow a similar trend, maybe not as far as he does, but our proximity to BWI Airport does provide for an opportunity for those travelers that are coming in from other states or other countries to shop with us as well. We had a couple of anchors that left in the past couple of years. Bed Bath & Beyond's lease expired, and they decided during the post-COVID environment not to renew. So we've replaced them with a furniture store, MD Furniture, that was here previously. And then Best Buy also decided not to renew their lease when it expired earlier this year. And we are proud to announce that we're going to have the first Primark in the state of Maryland opening next year. Primark is an Ireland department store. They exist across Europe, and they're just now branching out into the United States. So this will be the first in Maryland. I think the closest to us is a King of Prussia Mall up in Pennsylvania. And then down south, probably down in Florida, but they're starting to branch out. So we're excited about those stores opening. And what we are looking to do over the next couple of years, right now, we're under a little mini cosmetic refresh, painting the entire interior of the shopping center to eliminate all those dark colors that used to exist and the whimsical colors that existed, to brighten up the complex and provide for just a much more comfortable feel as folks travel around the shopping center. We're working with the county to rework our transit stop. Rob mentioned the BW Partnership runs a shuttle program, a free shuttle program that connects the light rail to Arundel Mills. And I think the number that I heard this morning was it's averaging about 7,000 employees connecting to the mall every month. So it's a very successful complex. Over the past 12 months, they said that they have moved more people than will fit inside the M&T Stadium, which is 78,000. They moved, about a couple hundred more. So I thought that was a fun statistic to hear this morning. But, we're excited about the future. We're going to continue to look for ways to be innovative. Our competitors are now, when they get anchor stores back, they're adding what we have today. They're adding entertainment venues. They're adding grocery stores. They're adding restaurants. If you haven't been to Arundel Mills lately, I would encourage you to come visit us. Try out our Yard House. That is the third Darden brand to be located here, in addition to their Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse. It replaced Duclaw Brewing a couple of years ago, and it's just a great offering and a fun place for all to visit. So that's kind of where we are today. The future, as things happen, we'll look for other opportunities to expand the tenant mix. We're going to continue to work with the casino to make sure that we're providing as the best opportunities we can for all customers coming to the shopping center, both from a parking perspective, a travel perspective. In the future, there's other ways that we can potentially look at to improve traffic flow even better. And we're constantly looking at. Rob and I talk about traffic all the time, and we want to make sure that those that live in the area have the best experience that they can. So that's my 25 minutes, Mark, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. So same process for those that can either raise your hand or use the raise hand function. Keisha has a question. Keisha?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Jean. I'm excited about Primark. I just found out about the store yesterday, so I'm excited to hear that we're going to have one local, because I know they sell some home goods and stuff also, and clothes. So my question is, I guess, for the underutilized space outside of the mall, what plans, if anything, do you all have for kind of utilizing that space in the future?
You'll have to be a little bit more specific. When you talk about underutilized, what exactly are you referring to?
The parking lots.
Okay. Well, we have this year started to experiment with utilizing some of the parking areas for family-friendly events. We had a circus this summer, a sixth-generation family circus that operated. For the month of September, we had the largest bounce house in the country, Bounce the Mall. That's a weekend operation that is providing a great experience for families to bring their kids to massive bounce opportunities. It's only here for this month, and it's only operating on the weekends. We'll be doing another circus next year. And then we're looking for other opportunities to provide family-friendly events. I better mention the expo that's happening this weekend for the emergency responders in Arundel County. They'll be showing off all the firefighting equipment and police equipment and so forth. That's an event that will occur on Saturday. I think it's running from about 11 o'clock until 3 o'clock. But we have to be very careful about what we're doing on the parking lots, because we want that to be beneficial, not detrimental to the experience of the customers that are coming. So we have to watch that very closely.
Okay. One other question I had then, what's your vacancy rate within the mall?
It's very low. It's very low compared to our competitors in the market. I won't talk exact numbers, but I will tell you that we were outperforming all of our competitors in the market.
Gotcha. Okay.
Come to the mall, walk around and see which.
I've been.
I challenge you to look for vacant spaces.
Right.
Kevin, do you have a question? Oh, you're on mute.
Yep. I'd like to follow up on Keisha's first question. I was at IKEA and I was shocked to see that they had, I'm sorry, you're a competitor. And I was shocked to see that they had solar panels in their parking lot. And I know that would get in the way of the bounce house, but is there any consideration? It seems like a wonderful win-win situation, because you have, all this open space, like Keisha pointed out, underutilized space, parking, and then it creates shaded spots in the summertime. So have you looked into that?
We are doing solar panels at some of our centers across the country. We've been dabbling with that, experimenting, looking for what type of return. What we've been more focused on in being environmentally friendly is reducing our footprint. So we supply power to every tenant in this mall, with the exception of Live Casino. And we have reduced our carbon footprint from close to 50 million kilowatts down to about 35 million kilowatts over the past 10 years. And we're going to continue to look for other ways to do that. One of the objectives with painting the interior mall is to help with the light levels by just changing the ambient look.
Thank you.
Mark, do you have a question?
I do, but I'll hold it until the committee is done asking their questions.
No, go for it.
Yeah, so Gene, sort of piggybacking off of Keisha's question about the parking lots, I appreciate that you've talked about some of the other residential areas there, sort of within the Arundel Mills footprint, but we're hearing a lot about the need for housing and even affordable housing. And is there an opportunity to locate some of that additional housing on site? Whether there's something innovative you can do on top of the mall, or carve out some space of those parking lots and do any housing in those areas. Do you see any opportunity there, even within the next 20 years?
It's a great question. And indeed, other centers are adding a lot of residential and hotel. Residential is a piece that we don't have in the small footprint today. It's one that we are considering. Clearly, to build on parking lots, you have to replace the parking you're displacing, plus provide any parking needs for any residential that you're adding. Sometimes that makes projects a little bit cost prohibitive, but it's something that as we continue to evolve, as retail continues to evolve, and as space becomes available, it's clearly a thought process that makes sense for us, and one that we'd be welcome to consider in the future, and we constantly look at. Great question.
Nicole.
Thank you.
Oh. Nicole and then Nishara.
The mall currently utilizes a large amount of police resources. The casino does in and of itself, and they pay separately for that. But there's currently a police substation at the mall. My husband used to be the car around the mall, and then the mall had its own car, and now it's morphed into several cars at the mall and its own post, and then the Adam 3 post is around the mall. Is there any consideration for working with the police department to maybe not utilize as much police resources as you do on any given day, because you currently utilize a lot of police resources on any given day, not to mention the evenings and nights, especially on the weekends, and it's very costly. And then those of us that live in the surrounding jurisdiction we're still partnered with the police car that has to come from Laurel. So it's utilizing a lot of police resources just for the mall itself on any given day.
We have a great working relationship with the police department, similar to what you described that the casino does. We also hire secondary employment. So a lot of the officers who are working inside the mall are folks that are paid directly by Arundel Mills. They're not paid for by Anne Arundel County. The Local Development Council funds close to $3 million annually to pay for the other law enforcement officials that are working in and around the shopping center to provide for the general area. So the general area is defined with about 3-mile radius of Arundel Mills, and those dollars are utilized to supplement the police coverage that otherwise would not be in this area for the residents and for the shopping center exterior and interior. But we do indeed supplement a lot of that manpower with secondary employment that's paid for by the shopping center, similar to Live hiring secondary employees.
Great, Nishara, I believe you had a question.
I have a follow-up.
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
no problem.
Given the era of mall shootings and things like that, there's been, a couple of low-key incidents at the mall and what have you. And I know you have mall security and whatnot. Do you have safety, security, and evacuation plans that you go over and what have you? Because I haven't seen on any of my recent trips to the mall evacuation plans posted or anything like that. I personally, being a police wife, look for those exits and things like that the minute I enter the mall, so I know my closest way to get out, but I don't see them posted for civilians that are in the mall, which would be helpful given the era that we live in nowadays. Those would be really helpful to have posted for folks, especially our non-English speaking folks and the international travelers and what have you. It would be helpful if those were posted so people know their closest evacuation routes and what have you.
Yeah, that's great feedback, and thank you for that. We work with all of the merchants on a regular basis in conjunction with the police department to talk about all kinds of emergency scenarios. We have a comprehensive emergency management plan. We're the only shopping center developer that has a plan that's been approved by the Homeland Security, and we work with DHS on a regular basis to develop and supplement that plan, which includes active shooter training events, live and tabletop, for all of our merchants. Because sadly, this is a bad time in our country's existence that active shooter events are not uncommon. I think for many, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We work, hand in hand with the police. We want to make sure that all of our employees and all of our customers have an opportunity to know what to do when things are happening. So the merchants are trained to bring people inside and close the gates, shelter in place. That's what they're trained to do. And that's how they're trained to help with the customers. So we can evolve from that. We're looking at other ways to evolve from that, some geofencing of cellular phones and things of that nature, some automated messaging that would come up on our interactive directories that are inside the shopping center, but we're not quite there. We're working on it. We know it's an area for improvement, and I hope that we have some opportunities to make some announcements in the next probably 24 months.
Because all the directories, that used to have the big at the entrances or whatever that showed you are here and all that, those are all gone from the entrances now. So it doesn't, there's nothing to tell people where they are. I know they're all on the phone, Kevin, but
That's
all the
right.
ones that showed people where they are and all that kind of stuff, those are all gone from the entrances now. So
yeah, they're scattered inside on these interactive touchscreens that are located around the shopping center. We're having some learning curve issues with them right now. A few of them are down. I'm not going to deny that, because that would be your next comment, I'm sure, because you sound to be one of our shoppers, and thank you for that. But no, it's clearly an opportunity for an improvement and something that we're looking to do. But yes, we did remove those static directories, and we're directing folks to their cell phones, because that provides them a much more real-time opportunity to know where to park when they come to the shopping center, to reach a destination they're going to, once they're in the shopping center, to get to the destination, and so forth. So I'll take that feedback back to our marketing team as well.
even those would be touchscreen would be helpful, because sometimes you look it up on there, but you forget, was it to the right or to the left when you first get in the thing. So bring those back, please.
There, 2 of the 7 are working. We've got 5 that are offline, and it's driving me nuts. I'm not going to lie to you.
Great, Nishara.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you guys for your presentation. I also really appreciate Mark's question about the affordable housing. That's something I'm actually really interested in, so I'm definitely going to stay tuned to that. One of my questions was actually kind of geared towards what Keisha said, towards like the parking lot use and everything. Is it only for like mandated events, or can the public also ask to use that? So like, let's say someone from the public want to host like a vendor event, or they want to host like, I don't know, like an art event or something, like, you know, kind of like what Baltimore does with Artscape, but like obviously on a much smaller scale. I didn't know they had that possibility. And then the second follow-up question to that would be if they had any other like empty spaces in the mall that maybe could be utilized for the community. And if there's a charge for the public to use, whether to use the space in the mall or the parking lot, or would it just be funded, or how would that work? I know that was a lot, but yeah.
No, that's a great question. Obviously, we're a real estate company, so we lease space, but we do look for opportunities to do things that make sense for the public. For example, the safety expo that's coming, you know, that's something that we provide the space for the fire or life safety teams to come and educate the residents about what they have to do. We've donated space to the police substation. That is not space that we make a penny on. We lose money on it, to be honest, because we pay for all the work with it. But we also have a sales and service training center that is a space that we've donated to the community college, where they operate classes and training and hiring expos to try to help people connect with jobs. So we're going to continue to do that. We have in the past, and we haven't done it since COVID, done some community events in the dining pavilion, and we'll probably bring those back in the near future, but just stay tuned.
Okay.
All right, well, great. Well, seeing no other questions, I would like to thank Jean and Rob for giving a really comprehensive presentation of the Arundel Mills Regional Commercial Center. It was very, very helpful. I see that it's 7:10 on my clock, so why don't we go ahead and take a break, and we'll reconvene at 7:15 p.m. So take a break, stretch your legs, and we'll be back soon. Thanks.
Terrific, Joe. And if anybody has any questions in the future, please reach out to Rob Ray. We'd both be happy to answer further questions.
Great.
Yep. Likewise. Thank you, everybody, and appreciate your interest.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, well, I see on my clock here, I got 7:15 p.m., so I will keep us rolling. Really excited for our final presentation tonight as well to kind of help wrap things up, but also think a little bit more globally versus just around the Anne Arundel Regional Economic Center. So glad to have Wes McWilliam, Vice President, Business Development and Real Estate with the Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation, and Jonathan Boniface, who's the research manager there. And, you know, they're going to talk about lessons that we've learned from Arundel Mills, and as well as talking about how can we position other parts of the county for having better business attraction and redevelopment. And of course, areas that we've talked about in our riding tours, such as, you know, the corridor around Fort Meade base, where there's a lot of vacant buildings and places to redevelop. And of course, the Maryland 198 corridor, which, you know, a lot of residents and people there would like to see some smart development to, you know, redevelop and elevate the area. So with that, we'd like to turn it over to Wes and Jonathan, and you guys, we could probably try to keep it to 20 minutes and then we'll have time for questions.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, so I put together sort of a brief presentation. Mark asked me to put together some slides and information on some economic growth opportunities in Region 2. So we'll touch on a few of those. And then also talk a little bit about revitalization along the 198 corridor. And I'm thinking that some of this is going to flow naturally into just the general discussion of land use strategy. And we can certainly talk more about changing real estate markets as well. So that's sort of a discussion we can have after this presentation. So I'm going to share my screen, share a PowerPoint. Bear with me one second. I've got too many windows open. Here we go. All right.
Yep. Okay, good. We can see your screen.
Perfect. All right, let me just present. All right, perfect. So before I start getting into the economic growth opportunities in Region 2, I do want to mention that I intentionally left off both Maryland Live and Arundel Mills, just assuming that we were going to hear a ton of information about both of those facilities, and probably didn't need to spend a lot of time on it. But obviously, both of those are huge economic engines in not just the county, but certainly in Region 2. And I definitely see a lot of growth for both Arundel Mills and for Maryland Live. You know, Maryland Live talked about how they just opened the hall, which is their event center. They opened it in 2019, the end of 2019, which probably couldn't have been a worse time to open an event center. And I think that they've, since reopening it, had some early successes there. And I think that they're going to continue to build on that success, and they're going to continue to grow that, and they're going to continue to get some really big name acts. So I think that's going to grow. You know, Gene talked a little bit about the mall and how that's evolving. The retail market in general is evolving. Retail malls are evolving as well. They were changing pre-COVID, but COVID definitely changed things for malls and the way that they look. So there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunity for both of those places. But I did want to mention that I intentionally left them off because I figured we were going to be talking a lot about it. So first area I want to talk about, obviously, is Fort Meade. It's the state's largest employer. It's got over 167,000 direct and indirect jobs, economic impact of $21.6 billion. It's also home to 7 Anne Arundel County public schools. It's the second largest U.S. Army installation, and even though it's a Army installation, Air Force actually is the branch that has the most number of people on the fort. So it's its own little city in and of itself. It continues to grow with the growth of East Campus, and it really is, it spurs growth not just on the fort but outside the gates as well. Which brings me to the next one, and Thomas, thank you. I stole these photos from you to use for the slide tonight. I didn't have these pictures. I haven't been to see the new construction yet, but National Business Park as a whole in total has about 3.9 million square feet of office space currently, and they're approved for an additional 2 million square feet of space. National Business Park definitely helps with the expansion of Fort Meade. They're home to a ton of different defense contractors, companies that need to be close to the fort, and definitely have a lot of jobs in this business park. National Business Park North continues to expand. They've got a few buildings going up currently if you drive through there, and there's been a lot of demand recently for more technology companies, cyber companies, and I think that is going to continue. So definitely a lot of opportunity at National Business Park. Just south of National Business Park, on the other side of 32 is what was known as Annapolis Junction Business Park, I guess still is. It was purchased by Amazon, or I'm sorry, wrong company, purchased by Microsoft for $75 million a few years ago. They basically bought the last office building that was existing. They are planning to convert that into a data center, and they bought the remaining balance of land there to be developed for future data center uses. They're currently under construction for a couple of those facilities. So you can see just by looking at the map, there's a lot of room for growth as the data center market continues to expand here in Maryland and Anne Arundel County. A lot of opportunity here. We've seen a lot of growth in these companies, a lot of activity for data centers. The county likes these facilities because they aren't huge employers, which is typically what we like to see in economic development. We like to see a lot of high employment. This doesn't have that, but what it does have is high tax dollars, because they pay a lot of money in taxes. The amount of equipment that they put into these facilities is a lot. So they're definitely big taxpayers, big tax generators, and the county likes them because they don't typically generate a lot of traffic. If you think about the amount of traffic that if they were to continue to build this park out, with 150,000 square foot buildings of Class A office space compared to what you're going to get with a data center, it's significantly less. So the county likes it from that perspective. Also want to mention Laurel Park. It's been operating for over 100 years. They're proposing to redevelop a lot of it. Obviously, there is some complicated politics that goes along with it. It's also tied to the Pimlico redevelopment, but they have great plans here, and it's definitely going to be a world-class entertainment facility. And frankly, I think it's going to spark a lot of redevelopment, and we're going to touch on this a little bit. It's going to spark a lot of redevelopment, I think, in the Laurel 198 corridor. Speaking of the redevelopment opportunities, we have a program through our office called the Arundel Community Reinvestment Loan Program. Basically, it's loans for businesses or property owners up to $100,000. Primarily, these loans, the intent of the program is to use this fund for exterior improvements. So signage, new facades, landscaping, anything that's going to make the property look better is what the intent of this program is for. You can use some of the money for interior improvements, but again, the intent is to fix up the outside. It's up to $100,000. It's interest-free. We have 9 districts throughout the county. And they're in the sort of the older parts of the county. So Brooklyn Park, parts of Glen Burnie, Pasadena, Fort Smallwood, Odenton 175. So I almost included the more information about the Odenton Revitalization District. Unfortunately, it's right on the other side of the border of Region 2, right outside the gates of Fort Meade along 175, what's known as Boomtown. That is considered Revitalization District. Technically, it's right outside of Region 2, but I did want to mention it because it is so close, and it is sort of connected to Fort Meade, which is in Region 2. And recently, we've had a little bit of activity there. There's a group coming in that's going to redevelop a good portion of that and add some affordable housing, which is definitely much needed in the county. And it's going to clean up a lot of those older vacant spaces along that corridor. So we're excited about that. But technically outside of Region 2, we're going to stick to Region 2. And this is what the revitalization district looks like in Region 2. This is 198. Basically, everything that's west of, essentially everything that's west of 295, almost to the county line, is in the district. And I'm going to talk about a few opportunities that we have in this district and in the 198 corridor for potential development and redevelopment. So this is 3569 Russet Green, or 3569 Laurel Fort Meade Road. It's known as the Russet Green Center. This was a vacant lot for a number of years. And if you've driven through there lately, you can see the construction going up. It's going to be an 11,000 square foot retail building. It's currently under construction. And they do have a couple of leases so far, but still a lot of space left for tenants to go. So the next opportunity is, this is a property that's right in front of the bingo building. This is at 3601 Laurel Fort Meade Road. It's an abandoned gas station. It's all boarded up. You know, it looks awful from the outside. I was trying to get a picture of it from Google Street View and from a couple of other sources because it looks awful. The pumps are all boarded up. There's plywood all over the place. There's trash in the back. It looks nasty. Unfortunately, if you go into the Google Street View, it's basically blocked by a big tractor trailer truck, so you can't really get a good image of it. However, I was able to capture this one, and this is basically a little self car wash operation. It's basically a guy sitting on top of a barrel with a shopping cart full of chemicals to wash your cars. Not exactly a business that, from an economic development standpoint, that we would prefer to see here. So this is another opportunity. We've talked with the owners of this site, and they're interested in doing something. What, I don't know yet, but they are interested in reinvesting in this property and fixing it up and hopefully getting rid of the trash and getting rid of all the plywood, because those of you that have been through here, it just looks awful. The next one, this is relatively a new one. Actually, this is just proposed at this point. They haven't officially submitted plans, but again, another one right on 198, 3502 Laurel Fort Meade Road. This is a property that sits right next to the firehouse. It's a pretty large property. It goes back a ways. It was recently purchased by Atlantic Development Investments, and they are proposing to build 285 units of apartments, 3 buildings totaling 285 units of apartments. They're also proposing to build a Montessori school. So again, that's pretty early on. I was going to say early on in the process, but it's not even in the process yet. So stay tuned on that one. And that's it. I figured I would mention a few of those things, and I know Mark wanted to have sort of a broader conversation about land use, sort of some changing markets. If people have questions about that, if we're gonna have a discussion about that, I'm happy to answer questions as well.
Great, thank you so much. We'll start with Nicole, and then I think Keisha, you raised your hand up. So, and then Nicole, Keisha, and Kimmy. We'll start with that.
So you didn't mention the corridor marketplace, which has been a thorn in our side for 20 years. The owners of that shopping center are not good partners to the community. Joe and I were on the board of Russet for a long time. We have been wanting that marketplace to be redeveloped or to get better shops in there for 20 years. And we keep getting shops that the neighbors don't necessarily want. We like Aldi's, we're cool with that, but the Big Lots was not necessarily something that we wanted. With Total Wine moving over, we're very happy that Total Wine expanded, don't get us wrong. But the Spirit Halloween store comes and goes every year, fine, what have you. But those spaces have been vacant, and we really need something better in there. Target is getting revamped, that's fine. but the little shops in the front, the Verizon store, the Chipotle's, what have you. So we got the and pizza. Okay, great. We'll see how long that one stays. But they keep coming and going. You know, Burger King got the facelift, cool. You know, but we really need something better. We keep asking the AEDC. There was a lady that came and talked to us one time from the AEDC. And she's like, yeah, we went to Vegas. We talked about corridor marketplace, and she never showed us any receipts basically of what she was doing to market the corridor marketplace. And you didn't talk about it in this presentation. You know, corridor marketplace has been the vein of 198, with the exception of the hotels, which I know is nothing to help you market the 190, the corridor marketplace. But we have, you know, a good tax base, right? You have all those things you just spoke about. Fort Meade is the largest employer, and the watershed has townhomes selling for $500,000 and all these things. Why can't we get anything done in corridor marketplace in the last 20 years?
Well, I don't think nothing's happened there in the last 20 years. I mean, they totally reinvested in Target. They totally redid that store. You know, they got the Starbucks and Chick-fil-A fronting 198. They put a lot of money back into that. Total Wine relocation was good. I mean, there's still a bit of vacancy. But I think, you know, that comes with, you know, what we've been through in the last few years and the changing of retail markets. But you know, I don't think the owners are just sitting there and letting the center rot. I mean, there's certain examples of that elsewhere in the county. But I don't think corridors are one of those. Understanding that you want some different uses and things like that. You know, we don't typically market one property over others in the county to attract retailers to. We sort of market the county as a whole. But
I have to disagree with you, because when you go to Route 3 and you look at what Route 3 has, we don't have that. You go to Severna Park and you look at what's on Route 2, we don't get that. We pay the same taxes. We have the same, you know, kind of neighborhoods. Russet is the same kind of neighborhood that is Piney Orchard. We have the same kind of tax base. We have the same kind of everything. We have the same kind of HOA, yet we don't have the same kind of shops that you find in Watchapel. I got a Chick-fil-A, they got a Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? But you look at what Watchapel has, and Joe will tell you, Joe and I have talked about this 1,000 times. You know, we are the same kind of neighborhood and HOA that Piney Orchard is, yet Watchapel has all these great things and we don't. You know, we are right by a highway. We're easily between 295 and 95. You know, we have 3 counties right there. So you have Howard, PG, and Anne Arundel within a stone's throw, yet 198 is neglected, but Route 3 gets everything under the sun. Same thing with Route 2. Route 2 is on the whole other side of the earth and is, you know, there's only one way in and one way out, and they got everything under the daggone sun in Route 2 in Severna Park, and we get nothing over here. It's like we're the redheaded stepchild and we're completely neglected. And you go to any Russet board meeting and talk to them in the community, same thing with Maryland City, they're going to tell you the same thing. It's like we're the redheaded stepchild and nobody exists west of Route 3 over here. And if you build it, some of the people from Piney Orchard and some of the people from the new Shipley Meadows up there on 175, and me and Jessup, because I now live in Jessup where I used to live in Russet, you know, I have one grocery store, Food Lion. I have to keep coming down to Russet to do my shopping because the Target in Columbia sucks. I have to keep coming back down to Russet to do my shopping. And I have one Food Lion. I have to keep coming back down because I have nothing on 175. You know what I'm saying? And that's my other issue. 175 corridor, like you said, is terrible. I have a crummy Dollar Tree. I got a crummy Food Lion. The Aldi's, everything I have to go to Arundel Mills, but it's so busy. Like he was just saying, I don't want to deal with the Arundel Mills traffic to go to Safeway, to go to Aldi's real quick to get something. You know what I'm saying? So this is what, and Joe, I'm sure if you want to come off mute, you can tell him, this is what we keep saying. Route 3 gets everything. We get nothing over here.
Right. All right. Go ahead, Kimmy, you have a question, and then we'll do Keisha.
Oh, I thought it was Keisha. I can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So my question is regarding that gas station on 198. anytime people are coming from Prince George's County, that's the first thing they see. It doesn't make our county looks very presentable. Is there any way we can kind of tell the owner to try to do something as soon as possible? It's been like that for, I think, since before COVID, to be honest, and it doesn't look very presentable. Anytime I'm entering, I'm coming, I look at it, I'm like, this does not make our county looks pretty at all. And it's right next across from the racetrack, and it does not look very attractive. How soon can we kind of convince them to kind of make the face look better so it will represent the county very well? So that's just my take on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. It's, you know, it's certainly, it's the gate, one of the gateways to our county. And like you said, it's the first thing that people see. So you definitely want to have a good impression. As far as timing goes, you know, I mean, depending on what they want to do, right? I mean, if they want to completely redevelop it, you know, that requires, you know, going through site development plan process and things like that. And they got to engineer it, you know, get permits and then go through construction. So, you know, I think it really depends on what exactly they want to do. If they want to change the use and make it something different, you know, it could take a year or two before they even get a shovel in the ground.
Great. Keisha, I believe you had a question.
I had a couple. So the first, now since we're like, I guess, talking about that gas station, thinking about that bingo hall, it seems like it's a pretty popular, I guess, destination for people to kind of socialize, which is fine. And, you know, I like the fact that you guys have those revitalization loans available to people. My question is, what are you all doing to kind of market that and incentivize individual businesses to utilize those loans to give the facade of those establishments a facelift to make it look more presentable and welcoming in our community? And I guess, I mean, this is a little off topic, but in terms of incentivizing, is there like a very low interest rate, maybe if it's a loan and they're afraid to take it out because of the interest rate and having to pay that back? I guess I'm kind of curious to kind of hear a little bit more about that. Like, what are we doing to kind of encourage people to make use of that money?
Yeah, so the ACR loan, the Arundel Reinvestment, Arundel Community Reinvestment Loan, it's a 0% interest loan, so there's no interest.
Okay.
So that's pretty attractive to a lot of those, especially for smaller facade improvement projects, signage, landscaping, things like that. That's pretty attractive. As far as how do we market it, how do we go about getting the word out about it? We do typically send mailers out to every owner of a property that's in one of those districts. So that's one way. And then, so it's twofold, right? Because the property owner could do it and fix up their own property, right? But a lot of these properties have tenants in them. So tenants are also eligible for the loan to fix up their property. We're constantly meeting with businesses every day, and this is definitely one of the programs that we have, that we talk to any business that we talk to that's in one of these districts, we bring it up and encourage them to take advantage of it.
And what's the response though? Because if you're doing, and I was going to say, if you're going like door to door more so than just a mailer, which people potentially could just be throwing out, like, I mean, sitting there and talking to someone about it in person, I think might incentivize them to want to use it more.
We do. We do a little bit of that too. We do a little bit of both, and we actually do typically get, I'm with you, I don't think mailers, I think people will get that stuff, typically they just throw it away. But we do actually get a pretty good response rate from that. What else do I want to mention? Oh, and I do want to mention too, as part of that program, I think there's $1,500 worth of architectural costs that are involved in that as well. So that it pays for some of the architectural fees. The idea is you can pay an architect and then they can give you sort of a rendering of what the facade would look like. So there's that as well.
Do you also, I guess, for the shopping centers, because I know we talked about Laurel Corridor, but one other shopping center I noticed has some vacancies too, is where I think like the Cakes Plus, like the old Cakes Plus is located. Like, you know, there's some businesses there, but I'm wondering, is there an opportunity there to also like kind of develop the empty space there, and then also maybe even just give that a facelift? You know, the types of businesses we have in that establishment, in that area, so to speak, kind of lifting the area, so to speak, by encouraging different types of businesses to come.
Sure. Is that the one that's a little bit
where Dunkin' Donuts is?
A little bit further west on
wherever the Dunkin' Donuts is, like the drive around Dunkin' Donuts. That's what I got. And Domino's.
Where the gym is, it used to be Gold's Gym, now it's Fitness Evolution down further.
Yeah, further on 198.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly potential there. And, you know, when you look at these older shopping centers and you know, total redevelopment and things like that, you know, it's tough to do, right? Because a lot of those centers do have tenants in there. And how do you, it's tough to, and when I say redevelop, not you know, you can certainly do, you know, facade work and things like that with tenants in there, but to totally change the use and redevelop the whole center, it's tough to do that when there's tenants in place. You know, you don't want to disperse them or kick them out. So it's a little bit tricky to do, but you know, if you get a center that has a big chunk of vacancy, and we're seeing this, you know, throughout the county and throughout the country. Honestly, it's the way things are trending. You know, especially when you talk about shopping malls and things like that, and the way those are changing. You are seeing big chunks of empty space in some of those malls. So we are starting to see some different uses there. You know, Jean mentioned it a little bit. You know, more you know, entertainment, more experiential retail, as I like to call it. More restaurants, grocery stores, mixed use, multifamily. That's sort of the way that certainly shopping malls are going towards, and a lot of retail to some degree.
Have you guys considered also maybe even, I don't know if you do this already, but polling the community? Let's say if you sent out some sort of a survey and it had like a breakdown of some options of different retail or, you know, restaurants or entertainment that people might want to see within a certain region. Like if it's like a certain shopping center, we have a vacancy, you know, would you like to see a Cheesecake Factory come here? Or I don't know, Bonefish Grill or something like along those lines, or a different type of store, you know, to kind of attract a different crowd, I guess. Like that's one question I have, because I feel like you'll probably hear a lot of really good feedback from members of the community that might have good ideas. I think Nicole told me that in the past, they had to approach certain retailers to kind of come to like the Laurel Corridor. But I guess my question is like, what, if anything, can you guys do to hear feedback from the community and kind of get those ideas up front, so that way maybe we're being more proactive versus like reactive?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, retailers, when they make their decisions, it's not based on, you know, do people want them or not, right? I mean, like everybody wants a Trader Joe's, everybody wants a Wegmans, everybody wants, you know, these nice retail stores, but at the end of the day, it's up to the demographics to really tell that story. Can the community support those stores? You know, is there enough households there to support those stores? Those are the things that they look at. What, you know, what do the lease rates look like? So at the end of the day, it's not really about, you know, do people want these stores there? It's do the demographics support it, and can the companies make those decisions based on that?
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. The only other area I think I was interested in seeing some change is there's like a liquor store outside of the Russet community, that it's right off of 198. You know, it's not appealing.
The one on the other side of 198?
Yeah, it's like next to the Popeyes, I think, like on the other side of it. And
Yeah,
that's one that I'm just, it just kind of stands out to me, at least. The rest of the community is just nice and welcoming. And then that is like there, and it attracts a certain crowd too. So that's my question, is like,
There's two of them and we don't care for either one of them. We tried to get one to not come back. I personally testified 3 times at the liquor board to not get it back, and the liquor board gave them their license back. So we don't care for either one.
right. And then another question I had, is there an opportunity to, let's say like you have the Laurel Corridor, could we repurpose some of that unused space again? Like, let's say if there's a storefront that's open, could we potentially use that for like a recreational or senior citizen center, and like use that space? I guess, I don't know if it would have to be like rent paid from like the county or something, but is there a better use that we could put to that space? So, you know, we can kind of help serve certain communities that might be underserved, so to speak, in this area.
Yeah, I mean, it's privately owned, so it'd be up to the owner of the shopping center to do something like that. You know, certainly if there's a group that was interested in, you know, organizing that, and, you know, putting together some funding for that, you know, I'm sure that they would entertain it. But, you know, it's a private company, and at the end of the day, you know, they're in the business to make money, and you know, they do have some big chunks sitting there, so there could be some opportunity for a use like that. But yeah, it's up to them.
That's all my questions.
Great, Kevin, I see you have a question.
Yeah, switching gears a little bit. You had mentioned the at Annapolis Junction, the new data centers going in. That's news to me. And what's been in the news lately is the tremendous amount of noise that the fans, cooling fans of those data centers can generate. Do we have in place noise ordinances to minimize that, to force the new development to you know, not disturb the entire community by it's been described as loud as a jet plane taking off, only it never leaves, is what I read in the news. So I'm kind of worried about this. I mean, are we looking at the noise that these things are going to generate?
Yeah, I've been through some data centers before, and certainly a big component of them is cooling and things like that. I from the outside, I've never been able to hear any noise generating. Certainly when you go inside and you go into the rooms where all the servers are, it's a little loud. But I've never been to a data center on the outside and heard any loud.
Okay, so it sounds like the ones that you've been to do have good regulations that require noise abatement, but apparently there's other places. I forget what part of the country this article I was reading was, but like I said, it sounds like a jet plane, and it's the everyone in the neighborhood around it is up in arms because nothing was done. And of course, there are things that can be done to abate the noise.
Yeah, and I think that the data center operators are, you know, they're some of the biggest and most sophisticated ones, and I'm sure that they build their facilities so that it doesn't do that. And even if there was a little bit of noise generated, you know, this park is so secluded from any residential, you'd never.
Well, I'm right up the hill from there, and I can hear the trains from, you know, that pass through. So yeah, I would hear it. So I'm concerned about this. So if I could ask you to just, you know, keep your finger upon that and make sure that they do have abatement in place so that it's kept to a reasonable level.
Will do.
All right, well, this has been great, Wes. Really appreciate it. I think you went through a lot of pieces. I know it's a lot for us to consider, and I think, as you can see, there's a lot of passion of this group and folks that have been working on this for not even years but decades. So, you know, we're really willing to partner with you, and you know, we appreciate these information, because I think I learned a lot as well. So thank you both so much, Wes and John.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Great. So as we kind of wrap up here, just wanted to remind everyone that our next meeting in October, we're actually going to change, move it up a little bit. It's going to be on October 6th, and we're going to really dive into another area that we've all expressed a lot of passion about, which is affordable housing development and developers. So really looking forward to that. I know it's something that we because of all of your feedback on this process, we said we really need to put a pin in this and come back to it. So that's why we're going to do that. And then I did want to give some time for Mark and Carrie to talk about the new Visioning Questionnaire and kind of go over that. So I think that's like one of the next key steps in how we're going to get more public input. So that way we can then work on, you know, developing our proposals and plans starting at the, you know, in just a few months. We're already halfway through September. So I don't know, Carrie or Mark, if you wanted to, how you wanted to walk through the Visioning Questionnaire.
Yeah, I'm actually going to just chime in for a second with a couple of additional details about the meeting on the 6th, and then hand it to Mark. So I just want to thanks, Joe, for introducing that and reminding us that this is a specially scheduled meeting that came through SAC request to have affordable housing developers kind of come and close the loop, or not close the loop, but like finish that part of the conversation that we started in July. So just so folks know, we'll be joined by Foundation Development and Homes for America. So this is a for-profit and a nonprofit affordable housing developer. They're very active in Anne Arundel County and in Maryland. Both of them have experience outside of the state as well. we've given them, based on our meetings with you all and public feedback, we've gotten a series of objectives that we want to try to have them meet through their presentation. But if you have specific questions that you'd like them to address, now is a really great time to communicate that to Mark and I, because we will work with them to try to make sure ahead of time that they're anticipating as much as possible the interest that you have. But similar to our previous meetings, it'll be a presentation followed by Q&A. So please email me or Mark over the next, well, he's mostly me actually, because Mark's taking a little vacation. But email me questions that you have for these folks. And the more that you can communicate with me about that ahead of time, I think it's going to be a really good meeting. So, and just also, if you have any questions about that meeting, let me know. And now I'll hand it to Mark for visioning. Thanks for letting me chime in.
Yep. So the Office Planning and Zoning has opened up a survey, and we're calling it our Visioning Questionnaire. And I sort of want to recap of how we've gotten to this point where when we first opened up this region plan process, we started with just sort of a general feedback type of questionnaire. What do you like? What do you dislike? Very generally. And then just recently we had our feedback map where we had people identify on a map some of those things. What do you love? What needs fixing? Items like that. So now we're sort of in this phase where we've collected all that information, we've digested it, we've distilled it, and we want to sort of hone in a little bit more, because what the committee, sort of after our affordable housing meeting at the beginning of October, our next then SAC meeting, probably at the end of November, is going to start talking about visioning and crafting this vision statement that really sets the foundation of what we're going to then be building our recommendations off of. So again, what do we see Region 2 becoming in, or what do we want Region 2 to become over the next 20 years? So we're collecting this information on the future of transportation and mobility. A lot of the things that we've been talking about: community design and identity, housing, local economic development, we heard about more tonight, and community facilities. So again, this will help outline a vision that'll guide then these region plans. And again, they reflect on the public input that we've received to date, not only those two questionnaires that we've talked about, but also some small group interviews that we've had, community feedback, as well as our stakeholder advisory committee meetings. So again, the survey or the questionnaire is now live. It can be found at aacounty.org/region plans or aacounty.org/region 2. And so while that's out there, we want to have more of a active engagement with this questionnaire. So the Office of Planning and Zoning will be holding a series of, say, office hours. The first one tentatively at Meade Day, which is on October 1st. Carrie will be there. And again, this is just an opportunity for us to actually be in the community, work with community members, let people know about this questionnaire, hand out flyers about the questionnaire. And we're seeing this as more of, we're trying to sort of pivot off of our traditional method of holding one evening meeting from 6 to 8 and getting input from people, because we know that people have 2 jobs, people work off hours, and we feel like we might get more engagement if we're actually in the community on the turf and making ourselves more available throughout the entire day. So like I said, Meade Day on October 1st. We plan on setting up shop at the Maryland City Library, the Severn Library, as well as a couple local businesses. And again, dates for those locations are still to be determined, but we'll make sure that we get that up on the website when they become available. So that's what the Office of Planning and Zoning is doing. We're also going to be looking for the SAC members to help get the word out as well. So working with your local networks, we know most of you are associated with your HOAs, community groups, other faith organizations, and we really want you to help spread the word about this visioning questionnaire as well. So that's my spiel for the visioning questionnaire. Did anybody? Yeah, Nicole, you have a question?
So the county exec, I saw the visioning questionnaire already. The county executive sent it out in his Office of Community Engagement survey already. So I was like, oh, maybe we're going to talk about this in the meeting on Thursday.
Here we are.
So it came out already, and it was sent out by the Office of Community Engagement countywide, but it does talk about Region 2 specifically, et cetera, et cetera. So it's already gone out.
Yep.
Great. And then Mark, I guess there's one thing too, just in October, we're only having one meeting, correct? We're not having another meeting later on.
Correct. Just October
Okay.
6th for affordable housing.
Okay, so we'll just wanted to make everybody aware and make sure so they didn't think that you had two meetings a month. So, okay, great. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I just have a quick question for Carrie.
Yep.
For the affordable housing, they're going to talk and address that missing middle piece that we were asking for.
Maybe less than maybe less than you might be expecting, since missing middle is partially it's not necessarily an exclusive affordable housing strategy. So these are exclusive affordable housing developers, meaning they provide deeded, income restricted housing. So some of that may take the form of missing middle just by happenstance, but that's not their specialty. The specialty is not the typology of housing, it's the affordability level. The missing middle housing, I know, Karen McJunkin in the Elm Street development, she gave us some good ideas for how we might be able to facilitate something like that. Sounds from her perspective that a big issue is with some of the regulatory barriers. It's less the developer skill set. So, she gave us really good feedback. And but if you have more questions about missing middle housing and how we might facilitate that, you and I can always chat, and I'm happy to send the questions to Karen or to our zoning folks to get them to weigh in.
That this county, that's the feedback is that we're hearing, is that there's too much red tape. That's why they can't do it. But there's not in Howard County, and there's not in the surrounding counties. That's why they can do it over there and not here. But that's the piece I want to figure out. Why is it so easy to do it in Howard County, but not here? That's the piece we need to figure out and try and make recommendations to fix at the legislative level with this council. Because if they can go 6 minutes down the road and build them in Howard County easier, what do we need to fix to make it be done here? Because that's what's missing clearly. You know what I mean? But they can build these lower deeded, income restricted, which is good for a certain population of people. But what's missing is that piece in the middle, clearly. So we need to fix that. And that's why I keep pushing for that, because we need to figure out what is the regulatory pieces that's making it so difficult for them to do that here. Because that's the issue, because there is that regulatory piece that's making it so hard.
Yeah, I think we've been hearing from folks that both types of housing are missing, affordable housing.
Correct.
And
I don't
missing
disagree
middle.
with that.
So, okay.
I don't disagree with that. So that this meeting on the 6th is one piece of it. I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay.
But there's that second piece that we keep asking for.
Yes.
And it's that it's the regulations. And so we need to figure that out. So if she could tell us if she knows, just send me the list. What are the regulations that's preventing her and these other developers? And maybe Mark, who's not here, can answer that. Or Jim, what is missing? What are the regulations that are keeping them from building that here? What's the red tape? If they can answer that for us, then tell me, so we can fix it. We can make recommendations to fix it.
Yeah, I hear you. Does anyone want to field the question from the SAC who has experience with that, or?
But I think we can just tee it up, and then we can
Okay.
see if we can get more info for the meeting on the 6th.
Yeah, again, affordable housing needs density in order to pencil out. So I don't know that that's the missing middle part. However, I will make sure that the developers know that you have a strong interest in that. And if they can speak to that, we will ask them to. And then it sounds like maybe we need to continue to do, you know, talking to who we're talking to, our zoning folks and the market rate developers to figure out the barriers. So we are working on that, but it may not come up at this meeting, but I'll ask them and we'll see. So thank you.
And then are you guys going to give us a presentation at all, OPZ?
Yeah, so we can work that in when we start talking about the goals, policies, and strategies, as well as the land use.
Yeah, so what way we're going to kind of do that is have it be kind of like a capstone at the end of kind of like, as we move into the next phase in the planning, like how does it then fit in and how do we partner and move forward?
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
All right, so we're right up at the top of the hour, but I know we did have a few folks from public, so I will definitely, I'm really got to hold it to a minute, but I didn't know if anybody on the public side had any comments they would like to make. Looks like Gary, you have a comment. And Gary, like I said, we're running kind of close, so if you can try to keep it short.
I was asked to present to the Maryland Department of Planning annual symposium last year. And we were talking about it today. We actually had we're preparing another panel discussion for this year's event in October, and it's going to be about housing, affordable, low income, the whole 9 yards. But the interesting part, if you go back to the video, and I could send you all a link, although I don't know how many people actually read my links that I sent. But there's a video that Joe Griffin from the Maryland Department of Planning did of our session, and it has participants from Harrod County, Columbia Planning Department, and I believe the other one is Prince George's County. They had amazing. I was blown away with the ideas that they had presented on how their county Department of Planning's interface with the public and solicited inputs, and it was really state of the art. I mean, absolutely. The PG County had a virtual conference room that people could come into, and it was just amazing. You didn't have to go to a library meeting room; you could do it all online. So I would suggest that would be something you might want to take a look at. And what was the other one I wanted to say? I really would encourage you, from my experience and being a member for two plus years on the General Development Plan project, really you need to, this is speaking to the members, you really need to get a good understanding of how land use and zoning process works within OPZ. So that needs to be a thorough discussion. There's a lot of things that you've been told, well, we have code that does this, the code takes care of adequate facilities, but then behind the scenes, there's a lot going on. And I think I sent you all a list, and that's a serious list that if you haven't been involved in this, and I know some of you have not, that you really need to understand how exceptions and variances and how the hearing officer and all these things can do piecemeal zoning. And so please lobby with Mark and Carrie and Steve and the rest of them to give you a good background on how things work behind the scenes and how it works in real life. The other thing is, just one other thing, Joe, I'm sorry, I'm already over my minute, but next time you drive down 175 and you remember where the High's restaurant is, well, now Jessup is going to get a super duper Royal Farms. And that to me is something that I call commercial sprawl. And we have a Royal Farm just down the road in by Ridge Road, and probably a mile, maybe a mile and a quarter, another one. We have another one down on Route 1, which is about what's that, Nicole? About 2 miles from our houses. It's like, how many of these super gas stations do we need? And I think when you make your recommendations, think about not only housing sprawl, but commercial sprawl and the effect it has on the environment and so on and so forth. So anyway, I'll get out of here. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. Oh, Guernica, looks like you have a question.
Actually, I just wanted to go off what the last person had said about the sprawl of the business sprawl. At least with Royal Farms, there is a big race. If there's a Royal Farms, usually a Wawa will pop up and vice versa, because we had that happen here. In every place, they want to kind of put that for the competition. So that's part of probably why they're looking to go there. And I'm sure there's going to be a Wawa or other competing store. We had the same thing here with Royal Farms in Western Region 2. And there was an impact study saying, with the other gas stations saying, you know, do we really need another gas station? And really in Laurel, we really don't. But they got there, and then Wawa came down a mile and a half, put one there. So that's just my input that I wanted to give.
Great. Glad to have you back, Guernica. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're ready to have our meeting adjourned. Sorry, we went a little bit over, but looking forward to talking to everybody on October 6th, Thursday, October 6th, just a few weeks. All right. Thanks, everybody.